Hi there. Although this video is titled How Do I Become a Gnostic, it's also directed at myself and asks the question, how do I restart my Gnosticism? How do I get back on the Gnostic path? Because making these videos, and I've made quite a few of them in a short space of time, is actually quite distracting in its own way, and tiring. And especially tiring on my eyes, which are in a poor state of health at the moment. So it's time to have a look to see how I revisit Gnosticism, even though I have been studying it on and off for many years, through Kabbalah and Rosicrucianism and Western mystical tradition, as well as other esoteric traditions. Um, One of the first things you could do, which is very good, is to go back to the source. Always return to the source, and the source, I suppose, for Gnosticism is the Nag Hammadi materials, Nag Hammadi library. So it's a good idea to go back to the source, or sources, and read them and contemplate them, and also perhaps pick a source which resonates with you, or even a Gnostic thinker like Valentius. You could have a go and look at his stuff again and see if it resonates more with you. Because I think different gospels are going to resonate with you at different times of your life as well, and according to your life situation. So I think going back to the source and looking for a good translation is a really good idea, sort of back to fundamental Gnosticism, the fundamentals of Gnosticism, as it were. So a good returning to the Gnostic Gospels themselves is, I think, a really great idea, and you should do that periodically. The other thing you should do is, I think, develop some kind of practice, a daily practice or a weekly practice, some kind of prayer, some kind of mental or spiritual exercises that you could do every day or every week or something like that. There's plenty of them out there. I suppose I come from the Western magical tradition, so I have this thing called Liber Resh Vel Helios, which I've been doing, literally for 30 years, 5 times a day. And there's this prayer that you do to Egyptian deities, which, you know, um, you don't have to believe in the deities themselves. You could take a magical view of it. You could say they're all aspects of the self and everything. Or you could take a theistic view or polytheistic view. It doesn't really matter. It all amounts to the same thing. But it's just nice to do these 5 prayers every day. It's a good discipline to cultivate in you, a good alignment, a good method to align yourself to the spiritual, and using this particular Egyptian form or Freemasonic form or something like that. But it's up to you, whatever. The four holy words, I love you, God. They're very important, but they're kind of sort of spontaneous words that just simply, just come out. Um, as they just, they just arise whenever and for whatever reason. Um, but then, of course, there is also the what I call spontaneous introspection, where this is an odd thing. I don't think I explained it very well last time. It arises out of Buddhist dukkha. You sort of, it's like what's it called, the three of wands in the tarot. it's kind of universal sorrow. You contemplate universal sorrow. You contemplate the imprisonment of the soul in dualistic matter, in the worlds of the demiurge. Not just that matter is evil itself, but this whole world is dualistic in it, in that sense. Um, so it's not just a spirit matter dualism. It's the contemplation of dualism versus non-dualism, and the supernal worlds. Verses, well, not verses, but in relation to, I suppose, would be a better phrase, to the realms of the demiurge. And from this universal sorrow, this universal longing, I suppose, for spiritual freedom, you can go into a sort of a kind of a state of introspection. I wouldn't say trance exactly, because you're not in your head. You're out of your head. You're very much in your head. You're very much established in yourself, as the Upanishads say. So you're being yourself, utterly yourself, but you're very, very relaxed about being yourself. And often we are not very relaxed about being ourselves. But in this spontaneous introspection, you are I am that I am, sort of thing, if that can be expressed sort of without words, as it were. And from that, you may have a vision of the Holy Grail, and other visions might appear, and you might get information as well. You might receive what the Buddhists call dharma, or teachings, inner esoteric teachings, as a result of just aligning yourself to spirit. So that's kind of nice thing you can sort of, you do, again, spontaneous, so you have no control over that, really. But perhaps a daily or weekly contemplation of the universal sorrow, of dukkha, is something that you could cultivate, and then you could see where that led to. It's not a depressing thing. It's quite objective. This contemplation of dukkha, it's not you're feeling sorry for yourself or pitying the world, or feeling depressed about man's injustice to man, all that. It's a kind of an objective. It's just the soul is imprisoned in the worlds of the demiurge, and it's kind of like just an objective statement. But I suppose there is an emotional component there, because there's a longing to be free. But there's also an acceptance of the way things are as well. So there's an acceptance of things, but there's also a longing to change, and a longing to attain freedom, to attain mind liberation, or tantra. So you could cultivate that sort of every week, as long as you don't get too depressed or obsessed about that, or you don't fall into a hatred of man, or misogyny. Not misogyny, misanthropy, which wouldn't be very helpful to you. And then I suppose there's looking at when you write things down. Keep a dream journal, or a journal of sayings that you might receive as a result of doing spontaneous introspection. I've got a lot of these sayings, and I need to go through them again. It might seem a bit egotistical to read stuff that I've written down, but why not? It's there for my benefit. I've published it online, so you could say, well, I've sort of opened it up to other people to benefit from, if they wish, or if they can, or if they are benefited by it. But it's also done for my own benefit as well, isn't it? I shouldn't just write stuff down and then just put it in a drawer and forget about it. You've got to do something with the information that you receive. I'm not just doing it for fun or ego. I'm not just doing it to look good, or to publish books or whatever to make money. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it for myself. So you need to go back to your own writings, your own records, your own dream accounts, whatever. Look at them again, study them as you study the actual Gnostic Gospels themselves, because they are important. They have arisen from your individual gnosis yourself, you see. So they are as important as anything that has been found in Narcomedes, you see. So I think, and then how do I become a Gnostic? Well, in a sense, the verb is becoming. I mean, you are becoming. But one of the good things is to cultivate your garden, do gardening, or do something like grow things. That's kind of, even if you have to grow them, in a little box on your windowsill because you don't have a garden. It's nice and important to grow things, I think, and to care for things that are growing, plants and things like that, and trees and whatever. And to be close to nature, because ironically enough, although nature is itself obviously under the command of the demiurge, it's in the realms of the demiurge, and yet there's something about the beauty of nature which is inspiring, and there's something about growing plants which is also symbolic of one's inner growth and the growth of soul consciousness. So but that's reflected on the material plane. So growing plants and things like that, and cultivating your garden, I would say that's quite important for the Gnostic and the development of the Gnostic life as well. And then finally, cultivate thoughts, cultivate your intention to cultivate kindness and compassion. I think the kindness and compassion again is a spontaneous outflow from absorbing the energy of the Holy Grail, if I may speak metaphorically for a minute. I suppose it's nothing. I say cultivate kindness as if one can do that and go to kindness school or whatever, and get a degree in kindness. It doesn't work like that, really. I suppose it may originate from being kind to yourself. If you're kind to yourself, love yourself, then perhaps love for others and kindness towards others develops from self-kindness and self-love in the positive sense of the word. So I hope these, it's just a brief survey really of how you might become a Gnostic. There are Gnostic churches and Gnostic groups around, which you may find helpful to join or associate with in some way. But bearing in mind, that all groups and all churches are prone to the energy of the demiurge in some form or another, and the good that they would, is the good they do not, sort of thing. So often they might not come up to your expectations. And maybe you shouldn't have too high expectations, really, from spiritual groups, as it were. Not even groups that have been around for a long time. You should be, supped with a long spoon, like with people generally. Don't jump in and say, oh, this is better than sliced bread. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get sort of obsessed with people, with personalities, with groups, and all that kind of stuff. Really. Stay objective, as objective as you possibly can, about people that would help you in a certain way, and be objective about the way that you help other people as well. So again, this is directed towards you. How do I become a Gnostic? But also towards me, how do I return to Gnostic fundamentals? How do I, after this sort of stint of making videos, how do I center myself again and go back to my inner Gnostic development, rather than just keep on making videos, and also I need to allow people time to read to absorb the videos, and to subscribe to the channel. And so, bearing that in mind, I hope that you enjoy this channel and all the videos that are on it. Thank you very much.